if you have a certain kind of person in Humabon. And that was really why I wrote this, because I was reading Picafetta's account maybe a decade ago, more than a decade ago, and then it always like there was something missing there to me. You know? I become less judgmental by being inside them and seeing the world through their eyes.
Good morning, everyone. So today I'm headed to Coda Study Center to go talk to one of my friends, Mr. Kahlil Carazo, who is actually an author. We're going to be going over there today so I can talk about his new book, Rahaj Versus Conquistador, it should be a very insightful conversation. Shout out also to Masi Arona, proud sponsor to the channel, gave me some shirts, really good brand. This particular detail right here, this particular shirt, is what I really like. I don't know if you can see the detail in that. Pretty cool, very cool, very cool. But I'll see you there, and let's try to pick Kahlil's brain. Here, because I'm in Davao, I had to stop by Kahlil's place. Something exciting. If you don't know Kahlil, he did a few videos with us. He's an entrepreneur, author, real good friend, strong man, a lot of things here. So, came up with a new book. Rahaj Versus Conquistador. I'm gonna pick his brain. For me, obviously, if you don't know this, I do have conquistador blood. Right? I do have lineage with I don't know. I gotta dig deep in there, but I have Spanish blood. So I'm really intrigued by this because I kind of want to know where his mind was at when he created this. Because before it was project management and your thoughts on other things. Now, I kind of went in another direction. I kind of want to see where this went. So, for someone who has never heard of the book, because it's on Amazon, I'm sure, right? What is it about, and what made you feel? What was the feelings as to the concept of creating this book?
Yeah. So the name of the book, the name of the novel, is Rahaj Versus Conquistador. So the title itself already tells
controversial.
You what's it about, no? So it's a retelling of what happened in 1521.
Okay.
But this time it's told from both sides of the story.
Okay.
Normally you only tell it from like Magellan's side, it's like a action adventure, conquest, something like that. Like there are movies made like that.
Yeah.
And also sometimes it's it's like a nationalist telling where you have these invaders and we defeated them.
Yes.
So, but what actually happened? What's the realistic scenario where that's like the events told mainly by Picafetta, but you have other books like this one, which are like but less popular books. So if you take seriously those events, like what kind of persons or what kind of culture could produce those kinds of events. For instance, we're not told in our classes that at the end, after the death of Magellan, after the killing of Magellan in the battle, so Humabon, his ally here, the Rahaj here, invited the crew of Magellan, so they were allies, of course.
After the death?
After the death of Magellan, it's like, hey, a farewell dinner, and I will give you a casket of treasures for your king.
Oh, really? To take back to Philippe?
Yeah. So this was Carlos. This was not but the Philippines was not yet. Like the guy whom the Philippines named after.
This was before him.
Wasn't. Yeah. This was before him. This was Carlos V.
Wow. Okay.
So I'll give you these treasures for your king. So they went, around 24 of them, including 2 officers, and Humabon massacred all of them.
I mean, it was like a diversion, come over here.
Come over here. Because, throughout those days, he was very a gracious host. They would go there.
Yes, that's what I heard, yes.
Food, drink, women. Of course, perhaps you're gonna die in that journey because most of them died actually going to the Philippines.
Yeah.
Not because of a battle, but simply because of going to the Pacific. This is a new world. It's you're going to Mars in our age, for instance.
Yeah.
So most of them died. But so one last feast.
Right.
say farewell to these people we befriended, the women we've grown to love, the food we enjoyed, and then
Massacred them.
But actually, not all of them. Some of them were enslaved because, like, 8 years later, there were 4 other attempts to colonize the Philippines before the success of Lopez de Legazpi in 1565. So there are records of like slaves Spanish slaves.
Really?
So they were now like, and some of them, I haven't confirmed this yet, but there were even some who became like soldiers. So they were now pintados. Like, imagine
they converted?
They became localized.
Almost like the Last Samurai to something
like that. Yeah. So imagine, this Spaniards now with tattoos and bahag.
Really?
So
okay.
I haven't seen the primary source, but I've seen like people, like historians talking about that outcome. Anyhow, so that's the ending. But throughout that story, in those almost a month, so you had some events there which I thought would only make sense if you have a certain kind of person in Humabon. And that was really why I wrote this, because I was reading Picafetta's account maybe a decade ago, more than a decade ago, and then it always like there was something missing there to me, as someone from Cebu who knows this place. And I felt like this is the same world. Because when I read the list of words that Picafetta wrote, maybe more than 100 Cebuano words, I mean, they're the same words. I mean, I understood those words, meaning that world was probably the same as the world we live in today. So the insight was, it's like after like months or years reading this, like Humabon is actually a Filipino politician.
Okay.
No, so you come from a political family.
Yeah.
You know who this guy is. You know, the big man.
The character, the charisma.
The charisma.
Yeah.
The charisma and the ruthlessness.
Yeah.
You know that guy.
Yeah.
You know, the guy who
the
could
cunningness.
The cunning.
Yeah.
And then the friendliness. You know, he could win your friendship over. At the same time, if you betray him, you know, he could
sociopathic tendencies too.
he could unleash violence just like that.
Psychopaths as well.
So exactly. So I had to study the figure of in anthropology. This guy is called the big man. Since the 60s, so some anthropologists visited the Asia Pacific, and then noticed that there's this figure, the same playbook. Again, charisma and violence.
Witty.
And
but
also
able to flip really quickly.
The ability to like organize a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's the same guy today.
100%.
Right? So across Southeast Asia, you see this guy.
All the time.
So actually, this is the book that sort of made me see the
Anarchy of Families.
Yeah. So this is.
I'm gonna have to read this.
Yeah, let's. So this book, I read this like years before I read Picafetta. So it didn't connect. I mean, it was just in my head. But this one
is this based on just leaders and the big men, or this is
in the Philippines?
This is specifically the Philippines.
The Philippines, yeah. So political families in the Philippines.
Yeah.
This is like studies of political families. Yeah, dynasties here, and then so the figure of the big man appears here as well. They use the same anthropological figure.
Yeah.
So, but that figure is all over Southeast Asia. So this two things is connected at some point. Like, hey, Humabon, his moves now make sense once you see that he is a big man. He is a psychopathic Filipino politician. So it's like, okay, I want to see the rest of the story.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, who else will write this? So I felt like at some point, like, I think I need to write this. I have to write this. And during the time, I also went into my studies in anthropology. I've been taking my master's in anthropology for like the past couple of years. So I went into aside from big man, I went into ritual sacrifice. And then, so this informed the creation of that world. So I think, I had sufficient knowledge of the culture of pre-colonial Southeast Asia to create that world. So I felt like, okay, I think I'm in the position to write this. Also being a Cebuano who grew up in downtown Cebu.
Okay.
So I was like, I grew up in the domain of Humabon.
Yeah.
So it's like, he was there. So it's like, okay, I felt like I had to do this.
Now, I mean, this is just me assuming, speculating. Do you think Humabon did that? Because allegedly, this is what I'm hearing. I haven't dug deep like you. Is it true that he had a rift with Lapu-Lapu? Now, is it to appease Lapu-Lapu? The guy just killed Magellan. He's gonna come after me. So to appease him, let me just kill these people to try and finish it off, so I can kind of play the big man and be like, listen, I took care of it. It is what it is. What's your take on that?
Yeah. So I've for the research of the book, I was also looked at all the interpretations, or maybe a lot of interpretations of why Magellan did that.
They had like beef or something. Is it true they had some type of rift or like Lapu-Lapu and Humabon?
The thing is, we don't know that.
Okay.
So the thing is, but we know Magellan decided to fight this battle. The question is why? And it was a stupid battle. I mean, a stupid decision from the point of view of like military strategy.
Yeah.
It's like it just didn't make sense.
I mean, the island of Mactan, or I mean, is it because he pretty much conquer?
No, he didn't need to do that. There was the upside was very little. It's like, imagine like you're betting, if you were a general, it was like you're betting your men, your artillery, your weapons on a certain outcome. Like, okay, we do this will cost some lives, I possibly die here, but what is the outcome I'm expecting here? So like, and if you read Magellan's life, even just the way he handled the armada, that expedition, he was very, what you call this, like, that was very, you wouldn't expect that of him, that bad decision of like fighting that, because he was, like, for instance, he survived a mutiny. So he was very like tactically, what you call this, like adept.
Right.
So if you look at his life, if you look at what happened before that, throughout the journey, he was also, what you call this, like brutal. He could also unleash violence like that. So at the same time, he could anticipate like what you call this, tactical moves. So he survived that mutiny, 2 ships against 3 ships that mutinied against him.
Okay.
So and then just imagine leading a bunch of like wild Spanish men and Portuguese or European men. These are like many criminals there, adventurers, so many psychopaths.
Whoever wants to jump on the ship is gonna
and then he was like, most of them were Spaniards, and he was a Portuguese, so he was an outsider. So but he was able to manage that. So, but the thing is, like, so going back to the question, why did he fight that? So my writing style is sort of like this, this acting style of method acting.
Oh yes, sir.
Which is like you enter.
You are the guy. You're in
my writing style was like I would enter the mind of Humabon and Magellan every day. So when I write Humabon's part, I'm there. I could smell that world. I could hear the voices of people. Like I could taste the tuba. It's like I'm in that world. And when I'm in Magellan, so like I had to research about the psychology of the conquistadors as well. Like what would be what's the European mind? What's the European soldier's mind during that time? So at the same time, I had to create something exciting. So my choices had to be plausible. At the same time, it had to tell an exciting story. This had to be a interesting story. So, what led to the battle? Because that was the main thing. So, since you are dealing with a Filipino politician in Humabon, I sense that he had to be the one to orchestrate it.
Right, because you have to give him details to be like, okay, this is where you go.
No, it's like, so because at the same time, Magellan also had to do it. No, so it was like two. You had the influence of Humabon, who's his ally, and Magellan had to. It's like it had to make sense for him. So I had to create those two worlds, no. In Humabon's part, so why is he the Raha? And why is Lapu-Lapu a Datu? So, in this novel, Cebu is a trading port.
Yes.
So, and Lapu-Lapu is a warlord, no? So, meaning, the political economy of that world was either you are a leader of a trading port. So it's a incipient kind of like capitalism.
Right.
There was trade. So he was the richest leader. He was the richest Datu in the Visayas. In
Lapu-Lapu.
So Humabon. That's why he's Raha.
So I mean, for those of you, because some Americans are going to watch this, what is the difference between Raha and Datu?
Exactly. So it's just in that world, it's just a more prestigious
Raha.
title.
Raha.
He's like a special kind of Datu. Why is he special?
Okay.
Why is he special? So my sense is that he's special because he's richer. He's richer because he's handling a port.
Port.
So a trading port.
He is the guy. I mean, all the money flows through him.
Flows to him.
Yeah.
And what's his relationship with Lapu-Lapu? So in some records, Lapu-Lapu is said to be an old man. Maybe in his 70s.
Older than Raha?
Older in the story, he's like in his mid-30s, mid to late 30s, no? So I made him in the story. Lapu-Lapu was his teacher, no? His teacher and an ally of his dad. So his dad, the dad of Humabon, the old Raha, so created this alliance of like 4 kingdoms, 4 houses, including Lapu-Lapu's. So the trading port of Cebu, where money flows. At the same time, you have to protect that.
Yeah.
Protection. No, this
the
was before the nation state.
Yeah.
So it's like, so you had like 3 other kingdoms there, including Lapu-Lapu's, and Lapu-Lapu was the strongest.
That would protect Sugbo.
Protection. So then they would get shares of the profits from the trading, from the taxes or tributes. So when you trade there, you give a tribute to the Raha. This is what actually happens when Magellan enters, no? So let me explain the tribute. So when Magellan enters there, he refused to pay the tribute, the tax.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, and then like a politician, instead of getting angry, Humabon said, okay, let's see what you have. If you're not gonna pay, I'm gonna befriend you, but let's see what happens here. Okay. No? My knife is ready here. If you're bluffing, because he said, I'm representing the greatest king in the world. What if it's true? If you're
of course.
If you're say, okay, maybe it's telling the truth. Let's see if this is real.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so they become friends, and then so Lapu-Lapu is like gets like maybe almost half of their revenues. No.
Wow.
So but he couldn't raise an army against Lapu-Lapu or be free of him, because he's just too strong.
Yeah.
And then if you slowly build your little army, it will be seen as like as an insult to your teacher, to the strongest Datu there. No?
Yeah. Like, what's the play here? What are you doing?
Oh, are you trying to get rid of me?
Are you undermining me? Or are you preparing?
Exactly. But the thing is, like, imagine, so suddenly you have 3 ships carrying 150 soldiers with advanced technology. So suddenly you have a chance.
That's his army.
To, hey, we
Okay.
could reduce our the money we lose to Lapu-Lapu. No, politician. Thinking
No,
like,
I got, yes, that's literally what was in my head. You know what?
okay, so
Opportunistic.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So we have an army here. So he sees the opportunity while befriending Magellan, and then he learns how to what you call this manipulate or influence Magellan through understanding Magellan's faith, because it's very clear, and many authors that analyzed Magellan agree that he had a conversion during that journey, because he was near death. I mean, people were dying. He almost died probably. So he had a conversion. So, and see, Humabon, being that very adept politician, smelled that weakness. Okay, this guy is a true believer now. So let me exploit that. So that story, that's the main like dynamic of the story. So Humabon wants to be free of Lapu-Lapu. He influences Magellan, and also in Magellan's part, he didn't have a choice, sort of, because there was already a mutiny, I think twice during the journey. I sensed that there was also a mutiny happening, because why? How come there were only around 40 plus who actually fought in the battle? That's only one ship. My sense is that two other ships already mutinied. Said, okay, we're leaving here. We're going to the Spice Islands. That's our main goal here. If you want to do your conversions, up to you. No? So we're not gonna fight this battle. This is insane. So, but Magellan, his only move right now
It's a commit.
is to, if I'm gonna defeat this guy, I will be now the main military guy.
Yeah.
So we're friends now. I'll be his right hand guy. I could this could be my main, what you call headquarters, as we conquer the Moluccas for Spain. We will make a lot of money from the spices, and I'll be like the main, I could be a viceroy here. He sees that already in Latin America. Conquistadors go there, penniless. They go there, they conquer, they become kings.
Yes.
No, so you could become a king. So it's a worthwhile bet. I could die or I become king, or I could die and I'll be a martyr. Now, so it's already like he has
a win-win for him in his head.
Exactly. So if you are a Iberian guy with some like military talent, so you would have grown up with the stories of knights, San Fernando, El Cid. So I only found out about these guys, these like soldier saints, while researching this book. Like San Fernando, we hear about San Fernando all the time. There's a San Fernando in Cebu.
Of course.
But who is this guy? I found out that this guy was like a
warrior saints.
King. Warrior king saint.
Wow, so, I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly. So, or El Cid.
Okay.
So these guys are like the heroes of a young man. If you grew up during the time, like Magellan. So that is your model.
The idols. These are who they are.
So it was a good bet for him.
Right.
If I win, I can become king. If I die, I'll have the glory of someone like San Fernando.
I'll be remembered as.
I will die in battle. It's like that's the best outcome you could as a soldier.
Like win-win for it.
Either die in glory or become king. So those were like those were the motivations of these guys.
Now, going back to Humabon, and maybe even Magellan, but more Humabon, do you think those types, even the big man type, do you think that, because you said that he probably foresaw certain things when he saw Magellan, do you think that even at that time, his EQ was really high?
Any guy who could be king during the time, you have to have super high EQ. Because it's like any politician now. If you don't have a high social intuition, you won't win.
I agree.
So super high social intuition, ruthless. the charisma, and just an ability to lead men.
Yeah.
So that kind of guy.
Now, you said you were reading material 10 years ago. Leading up to this book, you had to dive right back into it. What sources did you go into to just trying to pick your brain? How deep did you get into before even writing this novel? What was the material you were picking from?
So I had to understand the culture of 16th century Cebu, as well as the culture of conquistador Spain and Portugal.
Right.
So those were the two worlds that collided. So for the local culture, what really helped is this book called, it's not here, Raiding, Trading, and Feasting by Laura Junker.
Okay.
So it's a scholarly book, an academic book about the political economy of Datu-led societies in the Philippines during the time. So she used archaeology, as well as anthropology of similar societies in the world, in pre-Christian Europe, in pre-colonial Africa. You see the same type of big man actually. So it's the same operating system.
Right.
So that's one book. Also, Barangay by William Henry Scott. You also have the Looking for the Pre-Hispanic Filipino by William Henry Scott. So those really helped me make understand that world.
The dynamic of that.
Yeah. The main thing really is to de-Christianize your mind.
Yeah, okay.
Because I had to become a pre-Christian big man.
Yes.
A pre-Christian psychopath. No? So imagine, ask yourself, in a world before the monopoly of violence by the nation state, would the ruler be less or more psychopathic than, like, say, Duterte? Diba? So what kind of guy would be king in that world? And then so now, because we are so Christianized, it's so hard to talk about normal things in that world.
Yeah.
Like slavery and ritual human sacrifice.
Yeah, I guess a level of what we would perceive as violence would be ritualistic, normal back then. It's just like part of maybe not day-to-day life, maybe hopefully not day-to-day life, but I totally get it.
Yeah, slavery and ritual human sacrifice are so hard to talk about now because we're so Christianized that there's people just immediately recoil at the idea. But the thing is, people are still killed for the purpose of power.
Yes.
And there's still almost like a slave-like dynamic among the rulers and their followers. No.
I do see that. Well, this is kind of controversial, and I always get in trouble with my wife, that it's more of that sense of like invisible chains. It's a sense of oppression that it's for me, like mentally oppressing. Like living here in the Philippines for almost 3 years now, and doing business here as well, with the family, you kind of see how, unfortunately, you can suppress one's mind to stay in one spot, to think one way, and never come out of a box.
I understand that we talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
But to write this book, I had to remove my judgment. To become that guy, I had to de-Christianize myself.
How was that process for you? Being that, obviously, who you are.
I had to also, the ones who really helped in this was this French-American scholar named René Girard, especially his critique on Nietzsche. Another book that helped is Dominion by Tom Holland. He looks at the history of the West and the influence of Christianity on Western culture. It has become globalized. So the main three things, I think, which we now take for granted, which if you look at like society in the past, I mean, it wasn't there, is like we believe that everyone's equal. Second, that we should side with the weak over the strong. Third is that you should always speak the truth. No, these are very. If you look at history from the long view, these are like recent and Christian
100%,
values.
Yeah.
It didn't mean that people in the past didn't have that, but because of rulers, the rulers dictate the culture.
Yeah.
So, and these psychopathic rulers, so practice ritual sacrifice, slavery. So you couldn't have like equality of all men, no?
No.
So it was a radical change. If you'd like to go into that Dominion by Tom Holland, it's really helpful. It's like once you see the impact of Christianity, you could like say, okay, let's remove this impact. What's left? So it's the culture before Christianity. So that's one area which, and then there's this book. If you really want to go into ritual sacrifice, this is the most comprehensive one. Pugot. Yeah, by Narciso Tan. I mean, this is very like, niche academic studies.
Really?
Like, this is
I see head taking here.
Yes.
Ritual cannibalism. I mean, I would probably want to ask you about how deep this goes, because I'm really into these type of things. Maybe not as much as you, but just understanding the human psyche, because I do business and I'm always trying to understand the human psychology to try to maybe not be the psychopath, but stay ahead of things when people act the way they act.
Yeah.
Because me as a business person, manager, leader, or hopefully leader of people, I put people in file cabinets. Like this personality fits here, but
I don't know if this is helpful, because I had to also forget my practical business, self-help kind of thing, because I had to be loyal to the story.
Yeah.
It's like my only master here was the story. I had to tell the story the way it wanted to be told. So I had to forget all my other rules. So I wasn't looking for a playbook here. I wasn't looking for truth about human nature. Although I had to know the truth about human nature, I had to look at the dark side of human nature in order for the story to be told. I had to tell it the way it was. But it is for no purpose than speaking what it wanted to be. So what the story wanted to be. So anyway, that's the local side, and then the Magellan side. I mean, it's easier to there are more sources of conquistadors and all that. It's the culture. The main thing that really surprised me, and something which is hard to imagine now, is that a guy could be extremely violent and extremely pious. Now if you feel it's like a contradiction, right?
It's like oxymoronic. So
it's a violent Christian.
But to be honest with you, I can see how it happens, because there's a sense of, putting myself in those shoes, there's a sense of I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm the leader type of mentality. So I could love these sets of people and be really amazing to them. The only thing I can kind of relate it to is the drug dealer that's in the slums that will give rice and food to everyone else and help everyone else. But ultimately what they're doing at the end of the day. So I can kind of see that mentality.
Yeah. And also, this is also my personal journey of this book also helped me understand some aspects of my scholarly work which were not, which I couldn't reach with just pure academic study. Because once I lived as Magellan, I finally understood what seemed to me like a contradiction was perhaps a necessity during that time. So medieval Europe had this achievement also of Christianizing the psychopath. Psychopaths will be born.
Yeah.
I mean, they will be part of any society.
Do you think because they did that because they knew that those are the people that will push the needle forward for their agenda?
I don't think it was conscious. I think it was just like, because like the term psychopath was invented in 20th century.
Okay.
People had it was not a medical condition in the past. No, it was only during this time, modernity, everything, hey, this guy, there's something wrong with this guy. But imagine, like, maybe this is your gift. Let's baptize you.
What would you say is, how would people back then look at that person? Like, wow, this person has really these qualities. Like, we should really support their endeavors. Like, where, characteristic-wise, how would you see those sorts of people in the 1600s look at that person? Like,
in the local side. The local side. Hey, this guy has a chance to become Datu.
This guy has it. Okay.
This guy has it. You know, it's like this guy, he's charismatic.
Yeah.
He's ruthless.
Yeah.
You know, even as a kid, you might see that. No?
Is it fair in saying you would say those people's local side of things, like this person is the X factor. This guy's going to be someone down the road.
Yeah, definitely.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and then people knew how to raise that kind of kid in the local sense. No, like the mothers would know. Okay, so so like the training, you know, I think it also still happens now. People instinctively, when they see that you're that type of guy, they will treat you in a certain kind of way. Yeah, and then people will, and it's like it's already embedded in this culture. It's you don't have to speak about it. These people will be raised in a certain kind of way, so that they have that potential, and the potential will unfold through the culture. And the European side, and this is something I only realized during the writing. It's like this book by Flannery O'Connor, A Good Man Is Hard to Find.
Okay.
You know, so this is like one guy I talked to who teaches this said like this is the greatest short story written in the U.S.
Really?
A Good Man Is Hard to Find, because this one involves a psychopath.
Okay.
And also it's like the main character is a grandmother and like a psychopath. So after writing this, I finally I saw I think what she's trying to get at, which is the figure of the woman is actually the salvation of the psychopath.
That's one who can calm them and quail them to some extent, or like.
Yeah, the factor, the orderly factor. It's like you have chaos and you have order. So since the big man is also like is a source of chaos, that man
needs order.
Needs someone to bring order to him.
Yeah.
And I think that's a figure of the woman. And you see this as well in the local world, no? So you see, like in this cover, there's a woman there.
Yeah.
That is the wife of Humabon.
Okay.
In the story, she's named Paraluman.
Okay.
She's from the north, so she speaks Tagalog in the story.
Okay.
And she brings order to his life, and she's actually the source of his conversion here in the story. And this is not seen in any like local study. Like I don't think there's any study on the lives of the big men here, politicians, and their relationship with their wives. No?
Yeah.
I don't. I'm quite familiar with the scholarship here. I don't think anyone has studied that because it's so hard to study powerful people.
Yeah.
No? It's hard to study their lives. But I intuited that their relationship would have to be a dominatrix in Paraluman, and then so this strong man becomes a
baby,
submissive guy in front of the wife. And then when I talked to because I was really serious with this, I hired a writing coach, a professional novelist, to help me with this. He's a former journalist. His name is Mitya. And then when I told him, hey, I think this is going to be their relationship, and he told me he used to interview lots of this big men in Cavite. Man, 90%
Listen
of
to
the
their wives.
politicians.
Listen to their wives.
No, not only listen to their wives. They were like
Afraid?
they were like when it comes to their wives, they're like these like little puppies or something like that.
Yeah.
When they're among the people, like there's this big man.
Yeah.
So there's like, and I explore that psychology in the book,
Yeah.
and it just makes sense. It just makes sense for that, for that dynamic to be part of that world.
I mean, to try to make a connection there, I do see that in regular Filipino life, where the woman, to a good degree, is, I wouldn't want to say the head of the family, but definitely a needle pusher. He like, I don't know about them. I mean, I have American friends, obviously, I grew up in America, but I've never seen it as prevalent here in the Philippines, where the woman really plays a huge role in the decision making of where the family goes. So the head of the family, how people say you have to be the head of the family, the father's head. Even in our family, most of the women run the show behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Because it's just one of those things where, I mean, I can only talk, like, I reflect on myself. I am who I am, but when, like, it's like, I think it's like, I tell my wife, like, listen, I have to do what I have to do to make money and take charge when it comes to work and everything like that. Everything else you take care of. You let me know how it is.
Yeah.
Like, she's like kind of like my compass to a great degree. And then when I'm super pissed off, she's the one that will calm the waters. That like, listen, relax. So I can kind of see where the wife and the women come in here. Like for instance, it was very commonplace when women handle the finances here. That's a lot of control. A lot of Americans won't do that. A lot of Americans are very westernized countries are, no, I'm the man, I control everything, Here, it's very commonplace, but you can kind of see how women are, I would venture to say, women are really relied on here compared to for me, like how Western women are put on. Here, the men actually, to your point, they'll cower to their wives to a great degree. Like, that joke commercial where the guy goes, "Ako mo hawod sa family, I'm the head of the family," and then the wife goes, "Did you clean the dishes?" "Oh, hold on, babe."
Exactly. So you can only like realize that if you actually are part of this culture.
Yeah.
So I felt like I needed to write this because, like, all these like undocumented aspects of our culture, it's like I knew it. So, and that's one of them. Like, especially for a psychopath, as a psychopathic leader, you'll be so unhinged if you don't have a queen.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I think if Duterte only had a queen, he would have been less unhinged.
Less unhinged.
Yeah.
I mean, after being in that method mode, and after the book's done, everything's done, with all this information, all this data, all this knowledge now, how did you assimilate back into the normal Kahlil? Like, is there a change now? Are you a different man?
No, it's more of like every day in that year or so, which this was my main work. So I just had to like carry that with me. I mean, I was still normal.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like you go into a new project.
Yeah.
You have to be a certain kind of person to handle that project, but you have to take a break from that.
I totally get it.
After work, so you're at home.
Yeah.
You don't want to bring your
I
work
guess
there.
you have to be the person the role calls for.
Exactly.
At that point in time. Yeah.
So I had to be the author.
Yeah.
For the year, it's like a magical experience. Actually, it's like right, writing a novel is just it's crazy, man. It's like it's like communing with magic or something. It's like there are things which just don't make sense without like some sort of like, I don't know, some out of this world kind of thing. Like, these images, this like the ideas, just like fit. It's hard to plan or like to make sense in a like step-by-step rational way. They just like appear.
Yeah.
There's appear. So it was a magical experience. But the thing is, like, I'm also not like looking like I'm not missing it or anything. Like okay, I'm glad it's done.
Okay.
That was I don't know if I'm ever gonna write another novel.
Yeah.
It's like I said yes to this calling. I delivered it. It's like right now it's just like I'm resting from that kind of work. I maybe do more scholarly work now. But yeah, I had to become that guy.
Now for that year, and I know you had to do the on and off switch here, but did you find tendencies like even like within that time of reading the book when you're just out and about where Humabon came out or Magellan came out?
Yeah, it's because I had to become that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I had to become a psychopath.
Yeah.
While writing this. I actually noticed how my agency just increased. Like for instance, during that year, I climbed Apo.
Yes.
I started a new business.
Yeah.
I started a book club. So meaning, the one thing with these leaders is like, they just do things. They don't it's like there's no hesitation.
Yeah, action is like
just do it. So like for instance, Apo, we've been planning that for like 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. And then maybe because I was like in that mode of Humabon, it's like,
why not just go?
Let's do it. Like whatever needs to be done, let's do it. Let's make this happen. So I think that influenced me. It's like just looking back at what happened that year, it's like, okay, I was more like, I just had more agency.
Really? Now, for those who are going to be picking up the novel, what is the best scenario as to like you want their takeaway to be when reading this novel?
No, I don't have any like. It's like so I think that there's a difference between like let's say business or like doing marketing, because marketing you have a certain goal. You want for the reader to like there's a certain outcome. You want the person to buy.
Yeah.
In this case, again, it's like my only goal was to be faithful to the vision of this piece of writing. Wow. So there's this like when I saw it, it's like any piece of writing actually. It's like even a small, like a short essay. There's always like that moment where you see like what this thing could be. And that guides you. It's like this needs to exist.
Right.
So I saw this like maybe like a few years ago, and I even tried to negotiate myself out of it. Like maybe this could be a comic book, but like at some point it was clear like, okay, this has to be a novel, and you have to write this. Mm-hmm. So I said yes to that, and then that's the only thing really. It's like there's no, people will take away different things from this. I mean, it has many layers and many, angles.
Mm-hmm.
So some people like the battle, some people like the chess game, the political chess game. Some people like the Paraluman and her influence, like all the story there, the conversion perhaps. So there are many layers here. So each one will take whatever he or she is whatever he or she is bringing into the book.
Right,
you have a certain background, and you will read the book in a certain way. So people enjoy it. It's like it's a story that's meant to be enjoyed, and especially if you are you're from this culture, you will see that world in this story as well. So it's a celebration of our culture as well.
Okay, no, I was going to ask you that as a segue as to, like, is that the main takeaway you had as when it comes to the Filipino identity?
No, again, there's no main takeaway, man.
No.
So it's just like there's this story. I mean, it's multi-layered,
right?
And I saw it. I did the work to make it happen. It's here. I gave it everything.
Okay.
I got a I got a coach. I freed up my time. I became very healthy because like had to
Was this
eat
around
well.
that time you did the strongman contest as well? Yeah. Was it around
Yeah, I was
that time?
during the strongman. I was doing strong. Yeah, it was middle of this writing this. Yeah. Even like I did a weekly cold plunge because like it was like on Sundays reset, Mondays I'm all set to go into this world again. So I had use multiple technologies, Readwise, Rome Research, Claude AI. So I
really maximized.
Maximize everything. So I treated this like a pro. Yeah, like okay, this is my assignment. I'm gonna use everything in my powers.
Right.
To make this happen.
How long did it take you a full year to like create the manuscript? I mean, the original. Was it a full year for you, or?
Yeah, the actual writing was a bit more than a year. The research took several years because like it was also on and off. But the serious research maybe 3 years, something like that. Really reading up on things related to this. Yeah. So. Yeah.
How have you ever seen the movie? What the hell is that? The Mel Gibson movie with the
Apocalypto?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I was seeing clips, but the film. I think if you were looking for a film,
it would be that.
Captures it's Shogun.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Shogun.
Okay.
Yeah, Shogun was I already saw it in the middle of writing this.
Okay.
But when I saw it, this is what I am trying to capture.
Right.
So and then the ending. I think it's the best series I've ever seen. Shogun. From the Magellan side, I think True Detective season 1 really captures the mindset of this the Christian psychopath.
I gotta look more into that. I mean, I'm not saying this, but I do see tendencies of myself in those particular the descriptions of I mean, I don't know what it is. Like you said, I do come from a political family, but many of them I would have to say are very much that way. There's a sense of you know what they think with the young kids now by aura and all that stuff now. They're just people out there in the world. When they walk in a room, they just have this air of something there. People just you feel that energy. Fortunately or unfortunately, many of them are in my family. So I might want to go deeper in studying them, kind of watching them. But this is very intriguing.
Yeah, but my takeaway from writing this, in that aspect, is that these guys, I don't think demonizing them is the solution.
I don't see it. I don't see it as that. I mean,
So there's a Christian solution. I mean, they could be Christianized. The figure of the Christian knight is actually the baptism of the psychopath.
Yeah, I can see that.
So you could use your powers, your talents, for the good, because there is need for men to protect your community
100%
from the threats from the outside. And you couldn't have weak men, you couldn't have men who are hesitant to fight you to protect.
I'm a firm believer in that. In any society, you always need groups of people that are willing and able to do the dirty work.
Yeah.
The ones that don't want to, people will scoff at it, judge at it, and things like that. But at the end of the day, you don't know, or people don't like to see the benefits of of things like that. For instance, Duterte. A lot of Americans that I know are very why the speculation of all the murders and all these things. I'm like. So this is just me. I tell them okay, you're saying that from the seat of luxury and security. Yeah. You're saying that from a neighborhood that might be, let's say, in America. You're saying that from a subdivision like West Insular, here in what is this place over here? It's one of those exclusive subdivisions here.
Yeah.
For me, I don't think you have the right to say that because you don't have to feel it every single day.
Yeah.
As if, cause I grew up in the ghetto. I grew up in a really rough neighborhood. So if we had I guess soldiers or people like Duterte in those neighborhoods, I don't think it would have run as rampant with the violence because they knew that you had a person that was willing to take on the thing that people saw was not so righteous or not so good. But I mean, so
so actually, that's one reason which spurred me to write this as well, or at least gave me another angle. Because back in June 26, 2023, there was a guy who was actually killed here. Right outside.
Oh, right here?
Right outside here in this. Okay. I was working. I heard the gunshots.
Oh man.
So and then I was like, I came from Cebu, and I'm like an EDSA kid, so I had that mindset, like very EDSA, liberal, democratic mindset.
Yeah.
So I couldn't understand Duterte and the support for him all those years, but living in Davao, made me see. Like, okay, this was like a wild, lawless place in the past, and you needed a guy like that to bring order, to force order into this world. So, and then that kind of killing, that's like, it's like I'm questioning, what's the cost of the peace here?
Yeah.
So there's like the tension, but like looking at writing this, getting into the world of the conquistador and medieval Spain, I think the solution to Duterte the monster is Duterte the saint.
Okay, yeah.
So that guy, we still need that guy.
Yeah.
The soldier, the ruthless politician, to put order into the world. But you don't want that guy to be a Christian. And you want him to learn how to be a Christian in that game. So if we keep on demonizing, as the world had since World War II, since the Holocaust, it's like if you are, if you play this game, if you're this kind of person, you are like you are a psychopath.
No, you're a demon. You're a demon. You're.
So you'll end up with just guys with, like, you will scare away the guys who have the talent, but at the same time want to be good. It's like if there's no way for me to be a good person in this game, then I'll just be a CEO. I'll just be so.
Yeah.
So I think you have to give a pathway for ruthless, charismatic men to become saints.
That can be very controversial. This is very, I mean, I totally understand what you mean, because I mean, there's certain things that I know that, even within like the circles that I'm around, that they are saints to certain sectors of people within their lives, but on the other side of things, they're like, oh, how could they do that? How could they, I really see the value in having those types of people in the world, because honestly, those are the people that are actually going to push the buttons to make it happen. Now, to the extent of where, like even like in wars, one side's going to feel weird about the other, like you took all my people out, but the other side's going to be like, yeah, you took all the people out. But I mean, it's really it's one of those things, like that never-ending cycle of like who's good and who's bad for me. But at the same time, like if the community is benefiting from, let's say what Duterte has done, or allegedly has done, then me, I have a daughter now. I'm more than happy with it, because he might be the guy, like in a sense of like, Shrek. Shrek was taken on, like he's like an ogre in the woods and everything, but then when they needed him to rescue the princess, obviously he's not kind of welcome in the palace area, but they still applaud him for even taking those steps to do these things. So I think there is a place in the world for people like that. And if there is a way for them to, I guess, I mean, support, but a way for them not to be demonized or really thrown a lot of judgment on, I think there's a place in the world for that.
Yeah, there's a chapter here called Apollo versus the Crucified, and that was a question for me for years actually. Like, well, how could you be Christian at the same time like a killer, like a conquistador, a king, a ruler in those times had to be a killer. You had 100%. To kill your enemy.
100%, yeah.
And how does that, like, is that even, could you even be a Christian in that situation? Yeah. So that writing the chapter showed me the answer, which is that there couldn't be any rule or like a rigid
construct or framework of
this is the right thing, this is the wrong thing.
Yeah.
What is the situation? What is the situation? Is situation right now? And what is the right thing to do?
Yeah.
Sometimes the right thing to do is to fight your enemy and kill him.
Yeah.
Like, it's like there are situations like that.
100%.
So, that was my main discovery in writing the chapter. Personally, it's like in thinking about like Christianity and violence.
I mean, I'm okay with it. Trust me, I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm a bit weird too. I'm a bit. That's a problem. Like, when my wife knows how extreme I can get.
I mean, you're a fighter. Just I
know that sense of like, hey babe, I love you. I love my family, but this person across the ring, I'm going to try to maul you. And I don't care to a good degree where this ends where this ends.
Or imagine someone tries to hurt your family.
Yeah.
You know what you're gonna do.
Of course. But like, being a former fighter, that mentality of, oh no, I'm just gonna run through you. I don't care. I don't care about your family. I don't care.
Yeah, there's a switch there.
Yeah, they're like, listen, man. I'm here to do my job. My job is to destroy you.
Yeah.
So I totally get that, but I probably, I guess those type of careers and paths are probably perfect for that. Those are like in those mindsets, like athletes and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I was just listening to this MMA fighter talking about his childhood trauma, and he was damaged by it.
Oh, there's Sean Strickland.
Strickland, yeah. So, and but the thing is, like, you have to give these guys a way to live their lives.
Yeah.
It's like, what will you do? Just remove them from society or whatever, like demonize them. So it's a hard problem, and then I become less judgmental by being inside them and seeing the world through their eyes.
I mean, for me, if you're gonna read this particular novel, that's probably one of those takeaways. Because, speaking of myself, I do certain things I say and do. People do comment on, like, I don't think that was a bit too extreme or whatever.
Yeah.
But maybe books like this will open them up to, as like, you might not be everyone's cup of tea, but somebody has to get this thing done. And
so that was anyway, the journey of writing it also opened my eyes to certain things.
Maybe a bit too soon. Any more books in the works in your mind? Anything came up, or anything?
Nothing clear yet, but I have like more scholarly kinds of work in the
really okay.
In my plans. My thesis, which might become a book, but it will take some years, and it's not yet clear what they will be. So I mean, I'm not in a hurry,
right?
So because like I just also need to take a break from that kind of work, that intense, focused,
you're so deep
creative work, and then it's fun, but it's also I'm not in a hurry to get back into that kind of like mindset. It's very exhausting.
I'm sure it is, I'm sure it is, because you can, it's those things where they say like you fall deep into it and you're like, you're there, right? Some people can't pull out of the of that world. Like, you know, certain actors just stay like that for quite some time. It takes some time to
But it's,
you know,
it's beautiful, a beautiful experience. But you know, it's like it's so
imagine.
intense. Like, okay, I need a rest.
I can imagine. So once again, I'm with Kahlil. Check out the book. I'll put the link down below so you can kind of check this out. I'm gonna go ahead and read this anyway because I love history. At the end of the day, I love, and this is kind of more of a personal thing. I love Philippine history in the sense of the Castilla and the Castilla, you know, because obviously, like, I have Castilla blood, but I know nothing about it. You know, I kind of want to, you know, kind of look more deep into it and things like that. But this is definitely something I would like to read. And something more intriguing is like how those conquistadors converted into being pintados and all that stuff. That's a pretty cool thing. That's pretty cool. Any last words before we jump off?
No, just check it out, and I hope you'll enjoy the story.
I think I will, because this is really good. Well, so take care. God bless. I'll talk to you guys soon, and comment down below on everything, and check out the book. Take care. Bye bye.